What specific steps will you take to balance the budget?
Believe me, I know the value of money. That story about me throwing $1 across the river, I would not throw $1 anywhere unless it was to a friend who would return it. During the War of Independence, I had intensive conversations with General Henry Knox over the price of nails and their quality. I would suggest that we would bring Colonel Hamilton into this discussion. No more illuminated financial mind in all of these United States of America. Because United America must cherish its public debt. We cannot take our place on the world stage unless we, in a responsible and timely manner, reduce our debt. And we shall never place the debt of our generation on the shoulders of our posterity.
What specific regulations would you change, and how will that lead to jobs and growth?
I ask you to look into the very essence of the matter. We are under the burden of a very significant war debt, which we must reduce. Again, I say we must cherish the public debt. I would suggest to you that it is appropriate for the federal government to assume the state's debts with regard to the war. And I also would suggest to you that we, as quickly as possible, recommence commerce at a rather significantly high level with Great Britain. They should, by all rights, probably be our #1 trading partner. Lastly, I would very much urge us to stay away from the embroilments that are now being fomented betwixt Great Britain and France in Europe. They are going to be at war again, each one of them wanting to pull us in on their side, and we can afford neither. We cannot pay for another war. We should not be involved. We must be neutral. This is not about just survival. This is about our economy as well.
Does it matter at all that the gap between the rich and everyone else is widening?
I would suggest to you that it is important for the welfare of the nation that all citizens demean themselves in a productive manner to support the nation that serves and protects them. If you work hard, you will be rewarded. If you have inherited money, then it is appropriate that you participate in the upkeep of this nation, its roads, its postal systems, the very structure betwixt the various and several states. Finally, regardless of how you have come upon your money, through hard work and long years or through inheritance, it is your civic duty, your civic responsibility to pay your taxes and assure the stability of these United States of America.
How do you reassure American workers that their jobs are not being steadily replaced?
My goodness, how can anyone get across an idea in a reasoned way when all of you are talking at exactly the same time? Please, let us be civil. You cannot stop technology. In the end, it is up to each and every one of you, through education, through reading, like I have done, to improve yourself, your own skills, prepare yourselves to do all manner of things that perhaps you never originally thought that you could do, to become self-made. Because you will not stop technology. I embrace it. I have a system in my grist mill made by a fellow, his name Oliver Evans. Remarkable. It reduces the workforce by a significant percentum. I would urge you to embrace this. I would urge you to learn, adapt, and reinvent yourself. I have done so quite often.
What specific ways will you alleviate the pressure on small business?
It is critically important for small American businesses to be able to compete against large businesses. What comes to my mind, the businesses in Great Britain, the European, giant companies. And so how do we do that? We do that through a unified monetary system. We do that through improved infrastructure, roadways, for example, betwixt the several states. We do that through self-improvement and education of those working in these small businesses. We do that from a keen eye towards new technology and new products, and dare I say, new services. It is a very American thing to do, but it is important that small businesses keep pushing forward in the spirit of innovation and cash flow.
What is the biggest threat facing America today?
Well, I would urge you to take some time and read my farewell address. In it, I provide a list of strong suggestions and warnings that I believe are critical to this nation flourishing and growing. But I must confess, I am concerned about another matter. I am concerned about what I have identified in your day and time as political apathy. You know, in my day, when one is eligible to vote, almost everyone did. I have heard that in your day, in general elections, an election for the President of the United States and major offices, nigh on 60% of you vote. That is not enough. I have heard that in midterm elections, 40% of you vote. These United States of America do not simply require that its citizens raise up the nation as we did, but that future generations are informed, they make intelligent decisions, and then they act as is their political responsibility as citizens of these United States of America. I don't know if you are aware of my personal credo, but it is deeds, not words. Stop talking so much. Take action. Exercise your franchise. Elect your representatives. Elect your chief magistrate. Be a true American.
And now, candidates, it's time for your closing statements.
My fellow American citizens, I have served, directly or indirectly, since I was a young surveyor in Culpeper County at 17 years of age. I fought for my country in the French and Indian War, when my country was Great Britain. I became a justice of the peace. I ultimately became a member of the Virginia House of Burgesses, serving the royal colony of Virginia. And then, when the greatest crisis of my age occurred, I stepped forward in support of it, in support of a new country, of a new way of life, of a new form of government based on ideas that all men are created equal and that man can govern himself. The rest of the world was controlled by men and women of absolute power. Here, we had elective representatives in a government that belonged to the people. I have served as your chief magistrate, as your president. I have an interest in continuing to see the stewardship of the country move forward in a progressive, positive, growth-oriented, sober, financially conservative, and reasonable and reasoned manner. And so I ask you to think carefully. Do not be afraid to change your mind. And I ask you for your consideration. I am your servant.